Hi guys, William Morris here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new library from Heavyocity called Scoring Acoustic Guitars. So this library works in both the full and player versions of Kontakt, 6.4.2 and above, and has an install size of just under 2 gigabytes. So the library is divided into these main categories, which you can see on the left. And broadly speaking, they're a collection of guitar pads, textures, as well as some rhythmic and melodic phrases. So if any of you are familiar with Heavyocity's previous scoring guitar libraries, then you'll feel right at home in terms of the layout, except obviously this one is all based around the acoustic guitar as opposed to electric. And in some of these categories, that acoustic is divided into either a nylon or a steel string as well. All right, guys, so let's jump into some sounds. The UI I'm just going to skim over, as I think it's pretty much the same as all the other Gravity libraries. You have your sort of 4 commonly used effects on the left. So we've got reverb, chorus, delay, distortion. On the right-hand side, we have ADSR, and the center is dominated by this big punish control, which is kind of standard for all the Gravity stuff. And you've also got the accompanying twist control. So sort of generally speaking, this one kind of twists up the tonal properties of the patch, and the punish one is kind of just a bit more aggression. It's actually altering sort of a few effect parameters at once, this one. You have a little sample tab, so you can see the sample playing back, and you've got your tuning, panning level and such. You can also change the start points and also randomize the sample. On the next pages, we have a really comprehensive EQ and filter section. We also have our effects page, and these are also able to be sequenced, all of these effects. So if you go onto the sequence one here, you can kind of change that off. So basically it just automates the effect. So on and off is at the top here. And then if you go on to advanced on any of them, you can see you get this kind of step filter sort of layout. So we could, you know, say I want it to be not too much filtering at the start and then gradually come in and out and that kind of thing. So it's nice to have that built into the UI, just adds a bit more interest to the sounds if you want to use them. The final tab's the motion one, which is kind of step sequencer slash arpeggiator. Okay, so that's the UI done. Let's jump in first into acoustic guitarscapes. So these are sort of playable textures, kind of great mood setters. And you notice we have 2 patches, one all centered around A minor, one all centered around E minor. You can transpose the tuning inside the patch itself, but this just gives you the recorded key. So let's load in the A minor one. So as you can see on the keyboard, we have 2 zones. The right zone, turquoisey kind of greeny one, is the actual patches themselves. And this purple area is to transpose the key. So as you can see, it's starting on A, and we have 2 octaves which to transpose it. I would say with a lot of these, they don't sound great past an octave pretty much. I think it's just a bit too much time stretching for them to sound completely natural without any artifacts. But you've still got a full octaves, which usually sounds pretty good, so you can, you know, put it into the key of your existing track if you wish. All right, so let's have a listen to some of these then. So yeah, nice mix there, really kind of good sort of tone setters for a cue or a track or whatever you kind of want to use them for. And it's really nice to have these sort of more cinematic guitar sounds, but that aren't on electric guitar, because a lot of these sort of cinematic guitar libraries do tend to be on electric a little bit more. I also quite like the layout where I feel like they've done a lot of the lower, moodier stuff kind of more towards the left side of the keyboard. So like this is the first one. And then up in the higher registers, we kind of have the slightly lighter stuff. These are all just velocity sensitive, by the way. So yeah, nice sounding those. I can see them being a nice kind of bed to fit under the rest of your instrumentation. Let's just take a listen to the E minor key centered ones, and we'll do some switching around as well. So that was the first sample in E, but we could shift it down. So if we want to go down to the C. And that's back to the E. It's obviously a little tricky to do these transpose changes in real time. You'd probably want to just draw that in on the timeline. Let's listen to a few more. So I'll just give you an example of like stretching it all the way down kind of thing. So I feel like some of them you can get away with it, but a few that I've kind of gone through before have been a little bit artifacty. But that's to be expected with the bigger sort of stretches across. I think generally within 1 octave you're going to be absolutely fine. Okay, so that's a few of the guitarscapes. You do have 2 more here, but these are just the single versions of the menus. So you can just load one individual sound and then spread it across the keys if you want. So now let's take a listen to these melodic pulses and phrases. So you see again, they've been divided into A minor, E minor key centers. Let's dip into the A minor nylon string phrase menu. So again, at the bottom, we have the turquoise keys for the phrases and the left-hand side for your key center transposition. So I believe this menu one is these different categories here. So you had the forward, which are kind of like regular phrases, you've got effect stuff, and then your reverses, which is more what we were hearing on the end there. So just to give you an example of the transposition again, we'll listen to one of the acoustic samples from the start, which is kind of a phrase-based one. Most of them will just loop back around. So that's it in its natural kind of recorded state. If we went up an octave, you can kind of hear it starts to get a little bit artifacty. That is a whole octave up. If you're using this as part of a bigger mix, and it's more just a little flavor in there. You might be able to get away with those kind of things, but I think for anything that it's exposed, you're going to start to hear some of those artifacts when you're doing those bigger jumps across. But say we just wanted to go from this A1 and go down to F. Still sounds really nice. Down to D. Sounds almost detuned, but there's not too much kind of artifacting on it, so that just gives you an idea of what some of these sound like. Let's jump to the E minor ones now. I have to say the samples themselves sound lovely, really nicely played and recorded. And again, this one has the reverse kind of content higher up the key range. So as well as all the phrases, you also get these pulses. So if I just show you some of the nylon ones. So although these are rhythmic ideas, they still do have kind of, you know, like a chord progression in them. So they are kind of already composed pieces, which is obviously going to be great, you know, if you're starting from scratch, or you're not too kind of comfortable with the guitar, or you just want to create something really quickly. But they are going to be maybe a bit harder to fit into, you know, existing compositions, as they do move around tonally. So that's some of the nylon pulses. Let's just have a quick listen to the steel, and then we'll move on to the next category. See, I think some like that are a little bit more useful because they're not sort of changing the chord center at all. See, that one there does change kind of halfway through, and that's going to be a little trickier to fit into a composition. I have to say though, the sound of them is great. They sound really nice. All right, so that's some of the phrase and pulse stuff. If we just go back, let's dive into pads, and we're just going to use the pad elements menu here. Again, a lot of these are kind of like a big patch that contains almost everything, and then you have the broken down elements as well. And again, for this patch, we have the transposition keys and the playable keys as well. Yeah, again, love the sound of these. So this, you get a different one on every key, but if you went into pad elements, you can just see like kind of what they're made up of here. So I could just say I want that one, even the clouds one, and then you just get it on every key. So I could start playing it as a, you know, like a pad chord or something. There you go, so lots of control, which is nice. Let's jump out of the pads and try some performance palettes. See, this is where I kind of feel like the the naming convention or just the organization of the library could have been a little different, because some of these get quite tricky to read at a glance. I understand why they've wanted to keep the patch name as short as possible, but I think this is basically A minor, nylon, not sure, pedal stack, phrases maybe. But as with most of the others, you have what I think is a combined patch, this one, and then the broken down elements, reverse, effects, and so on. So let's check this one out. So these patches are a little different and slightly more confusing to me, just because there's no transposition options. You just have pitch control here, and most of the ones on this palette patch are kind of divided into threes. So they're the first sort of ensemble patches, if you will. So yeah, again, great sounding, but I'm just a little bit confused on the omission of the transpose function for these patches in particular, and it seems to be consistent across. So if we just jump into an E minor one. So I'm guessing you maybe just have to retune using these. Seems a little odd, breaking from the convention of the other patches. I'm not sure what the reason is for that. Maybe I'm missing something there. But yeah, that's the performance palette section. Let's try some of these rhythmic harmonies. So here we have 3 nylon patches and 3 steel ones. I'm just going to start on the nylon. So these ones are divided in half, as you can see at the bottom, and they're basically just major and minor in the blue. You get the same rhythm on each key, so it's just kind of a nice way of maybe stringing together your own chord sequences. So I could say I wanted to go C major, D minor, F major, G major. So it's a preset rhythm, but obviously you can enter your own chords effectively using the keys. Let's try another one. So again, same concept, just a different rhythm for this one. And they're not too bad to play in real time. I mean, obviously I think you'd want to program these in because the changes need to be exact on beat, really. Yeah, nice to be able to put your own chord sequences down, but you're obviously fixed to the set rhythms there. Let's do steel one. So yeah, same concept, again, different rhythm. Considering how much content you get in some of the other patches, it might have been really nice to have some more rhythms in here, because you obviously just get 3 of each, but they do cover, you know, sort of the pretty standard acoustic type rhythms that you might want to play. So that was the rhythmic harmonies. The last one is rhythmic pedals. So let's load up the one in A first, and this takes us back to the playable keys on the right and the transpose keys on the left. Okay, so yeah, these are pedals in the sense that they're pedaling on the same note, so you get a nice continuous kind of tonal rhythm idea. use this as a kind of chordal idea and just start with 1 and transpose underneath. So we're starting in A. That's nice, really simple, just a key switch underneath if you want to change where the chord is. Let's go back to A and just listen to a few more. So I actually think out of the whole library that these might be the most useful, in that they're really adaptable to your own material, your own progressions and parts of your track. I also really like some of the textured stuff in the guitarscapes and the pads. And there are some really nice things in the performance palettes and the melodic ideas. I just think that these are going to be, personally for me, probably ones that don't get as much use because they're harder to adapt to something that you've already written. But if you're just looking to write a track from scratch based around, this library or these kind of ideas, then it's going to be great because it's going to get you there so fast and sound, kind of amazing off the bat. So yeah, overall, really nice library. I mean, obviously Heavyocity generally make really great stuff. I've had quite a few of their different libraries over the years, and I've always been impressed with not only the sounds, but the programming behind them as well. I think the Gravity UI is actually probably one of my least favorites that they've done, just because it's kind of a little bit fiddly in places. Some things are quite small and there's a lot of space, which is more design than function. But that's just a personal preference, and some people might really like that layout, and it definitely looks cool. It might have been nice if there was a way they could find to organize the patches a little bit clearer. I think broadly the categories make sense, and I do like that it's almost divided by purpose. You kind of go in and think, oh, well, I need a rhythmic pedal, or I need a pad type sound, or I need a texture or something. And that makes sense to me. I think it's just when you dive into some of them and you see all these abbreviated names and stuff, it's a little bit tricky to kind of grasp what's going on just on a first read. But yeah, overall, lovely sounds, and I think this will be a nice kind of toolkit library. I know I'm going to get some use out of some of these rhythmic pedals and the pads and guitarscape stuff. And it's just nice to have a guitar library that's centered around acoustic, but it's still kind of, cinematic. It's got loads of vibe and kind of tone to it. I don't actually know of too many others that are based on acoustic that are doing that. I know there's a lot of electric ones, but this is kind of one of the first few acoustic ones I've come across. So yeah, that wraps it up from me, guys. Thanks for watching. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll try and answer them. But if not, I'll see you again on the next one.